This is how you're going to start your week. Good morning and welcome to MahalaMonday, an exciting episode. And I'm happy, very happy. Rhoda is here as always, and we have a guest. That is what we're having today. So joining us today is Damion Stander with Optigrowth, and we're going to welcome you properly. But first, let's see how Rhoda is.
I'm good, Douglas. I'm good. It was a fabulous weekend and very cold this morning, but I'm here. I'm alive. And yourself?
Ah, lekker. No complaints. So, Damion, welcome. Sorry, it's just the way we do things, man. Yes. Our guest feels better that way.
Takes the pressure off me a bit.
Yes. So, you might recall, Damion has visited us before, and it is absolutely brilliant having him along here. He's with Optigrowth. So, Damion, to people who don't know you, or know it is what it is exactly that you do, please tell us quickly.
So Optigrowth is a business that helps other businesses grow effectively. So we help them build the structures of the companies, build the fundamentals, and put things in place to help them grow their companies to make it sellable. So the topic for today. We see ourselves as business confidants, not as advisors or consultants. So we want to build up a trusted relationship with our customers to try and make them better.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And that is fantastic. So now the biggest thing that you got to know that this is an interactive show. So earlier in the week, of course, last week we told you that this is exactly what we're going to talk about. And as always, we bring in the experts, the people who know exactly what it is, that the questions that you might be asking yourself. So it's an interactive show. We look forward to your questions and comments, of course, and your contributions through this. And you can send those messages through to us at Nickay Productions. Details at the bottom of your screen as you are watching this. So everybody watching, morning, hello, looking forward to it. So what we're talking about today is business freedom. I know we touched base on that a while ago. And we'll rehash that. But you mentioned something in terms of scalable and selling a business. So it might be very daunting, but is that let's start off here. Is that the be all and end all as a business owner, as an entrepreneur? That's what I would want to do one day.
I think it's a case of understanding where you fit. So what you want to do? Are you a business owner or are you an entrepreneur? We believe in the philosophy of if you don't build a business to sell, you tend to be trapped in your business. So rather take your company and focus on being sellable, but understand that sellability isn't the actual effort of selling your company.
Okay, so you say trapped. What? Before we get underway with anything, just define for me what would somebody be who's trapped in a business. I mean, is there no doors here?
No, there's doors. Look, remember, I think the big aspect is that most business owners tend to start their company because they want to dictate how they live and they want to build something where they can draw some money out of it. Firstly, but second, they want to define and sort of manage their own time and build their own space around themselves. What tends to happen is when the work starts getting tough, when things start getting busy, we get very emotionally attached to what we do. We think that we have to be the best of it, right? And then what happens is we start doing everything. We start writing out the invoices, we start delivering the services, we start selling the products and services, and at the end of it, we don't know where to go next. We start focusing on things like the day-to-day tasks versus taking a step back and saying, where does this business actually go to?
And on that, I mean, that was a question as well. It was asked, I mean, when I started with you guys with Optigrowth as well, it was really a case of, where do you find yourself? And, once what would you like? Will you be able to sell your business? And as you get very emotional about that, because as a business owner, you're always like, but this is mine. And the problem is you actually don't give your experience. You don't spread the love or wealth or your knowledge. And automatically you're trapped, exactly that. So, you need to find out exactly where do you find yourself and what is your intentions of where do you want to take your business the next step.
I understand that somewhat.
So look, so the big thing that we've realized is a lot of business owners tend to have an idea for a company. They tend to want to start their business at some point.
Yeah. But
they then very quickly get stuck in the day-to-day. And we did a bit of research, or there was research done, and we've got some examples. The SME market is one of those very nice little fruitful packages or sectors that we have in our country. We've got a lot of big thinking entrepreneurs, we've got a lot of small thinking entrepreneurs, we've got people who want to just run their own family businesses, spread the wealth. I think SMEs are the biggest employer in the country as well. So we contribute a huge amount to the country's GDP. But the problem is then, do we look after the business owner? Does the business owner look after themselves? And with a bit of research, they figured out, or they found that 70% of business owners work 40 hours or more a week.
More than 40 hours?
More than 40 hours a week. Right?
And when we say week, were you talking 7-day week or work week?
We're talking about 5-day week.
Workday week.
Workday week, right? So business owners tend to work harder, right? Employees tend to work 8 till 5. Business owners tend to put in longer hours than they I wouldn't say supposed to, but that you normally would expect. So again, that freedom of going around and being able to wake up late and maybe leave it early tends to get disrupted because we're so focusing on getting things done in that day and more as well.
Okay, to put your theory to the test, you're a business owner, Rhoda. How many hours of work do you how many hours a week do you work? There we go. Okay, as soon as my tongue starts working,
I would definitely say more than 40 hours. And then it doesn't stop, obviously, on a Friday, because you tend to find yourself Saturday, even Sundays, sitting in front of a laptop and actually going through some work as well, and research. So there's no time limits.
Well,
so I can't add my hours,
as an example, my business partner, I sat down on Saturday to have a quick discussion about a potential client coming up. We sat yesterday to do some quotes, put some quotes together. So there's no working hours for business owners generally. The question is, how do you find the time to actually go out and actually enjoy life versus just constantly working?
Exactly.
And that brings to the next point. Only 54% of business, 54% of business owners don't take holidays. So they work through from January to the end of December with no holidays, with no breaks, because they feel like they can't afford the time to go off. And not necessarily the money, but the time to take off, because the business might stop, the business might not work.
True.
We're not going to take a holiday.
Yeah.
I do take the end of the year. 2 weeks.
45% of business owners also don't have a social life, right? For whatever reason, I'm not going to. There's a huge amount of things going to that.
Yeah.
And then lastly, 37% of business owners have a compromised health. Now, compromised health can be anything from overstressed, it could be from malnutrition because they're working too hard probably, but compromised health, and again, when we think about why I started a company, it wasn't to do this. It wasn't to have long working hours, to not be able to do things I want, not be able to go to gym, not be able to take a holiday. I started my own company to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we get stuck and trapped in this business environment where we have to constantly focus on doing the next task, getting the next deal, getting the next customer. And we feel like it's got to be on us to do it. We don't have staff, we don't have teams around us to support us either.
So, I mean, looking at those stats that we have there, and that definitely then supports the theory that business owners and I mean, there's a big difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner, as you touched on.
Yes,
But, if we can take just the broad, just for advancing this argument, if we look at business owners or entrepreneurs, they pretty much in the business. Like, if I look at those stats, I can assume if they're not involved in the business,
Or at least they feel that way.
or at least they feel that
At least they
way.
feel that way,
Exactly.
So again, I think to that point, we also need to understand that there's a big difference between a business owner and an entrepreneur. So a business owner, I'm just trying to get through this slide quickly, a business owners tend to be very reserved and very risk averse. They don't want to take big risks because if they take big risks, there's a risk the business might not move forward. An entrepreneur doesn't have an emotional attachment to their company generally. They think big, they have big ideas, and they want to move quite quickly when they do see an opportunity or see a market they can approach. Business owners can't do that because if they drop the one ball, they drop the one business, that business fails, no income, no chance to get the next one.
Yeah. Just a quick one. I think there's somebody on Facebook there that's just wanting to say something because it is an interactive show, so we're looking forward to it. Mr. Eng. Good morning, Damion and Nickay team. Morning.
Hello.
As you were saying.
Yeah, so entrepreneurs tend to be the sort of big thinkers, want to take a chance, love risk, don't mind dropping one thing for another thing. Business owners tend to be very much risk averse, very much task focused, and not big idea focused. And I think that's also where this whole sellability thing becomes an issue.
Oh yeah.
Entrepreneurs will look to grow investments, look to take their business, develop an asset, bring it or make it worth something, and eventually offload it in certain parts, certain ways as well. A business owner wants to draw revenue, wants to draw income, wants to make money out of the company, and not necessarily build that asset value as far as they can.
Yeah. So where do you start? I mean, if I start a business today, right, and it's scalable, I'm doing well, do I start thinking that already from day one?
So I'm going to go a little step back and say we first need to identify where we are.
Okay.
So right now, most business owners their business is running, it's working, and I think we've tried to identify what their business state is right now. And that state is the first one to look at as a startup. All about survival. I think any business owner who starts up, you need to sell at all costs, you need to make money, you need to get your product out there, and you literally are scratching around and surviving month to month effectively. Once we get past that point, we start looking at having a lifestyle business. And this is where the company starts looking after me as a business owner. I may have a staff member or two, I may have a bit of a support team around me, but effectively the business works to the lifestyle I want it to work. If I want to make 10,000 a month, the business will work until I make 10,000 a month. If I make 100,000 a month, the business works until I make 100,000 a month. So the business adjusts to the way that I want to do my life or see my life going as well. The next stage to the nice word you're using, scalable, is this is when we start looking to optimize structures, start putting things in place so the business can rapidly start growing. So generally in the lifestyle phase, it's still a very small step-by-step sort of growth. So when you start looking at scaling, you want to start looking at exponential growth, adding 100 staff, adding more regions, adding more spaces, because the business can quickly take a product that works or a structure that works and just multiply it around any sort of area or thing. And then the next phase we're looking to is being sellable. And that's the position we think that most business owners should be working towards or attaining to get.
Yeah.
Where they're working on their businesses, not in their businesses. And then again, from our perspective, ultimately have freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom.
And when you say freedom, I mean, when we look at the concept of sellable, as a business owner, what we're saying is to have that option available to you. So
Exactly.
not by the time you come to, let's say, retirement age, and then the business is basically a dud because you're going to retire. I mean, you physically you can't do it
The business
anymore.
still looks to you to provide everything for that company.
Yeah.
So sellability also has this, as unfortunately, it's a very clear-cut term, right? But the thinking around it should be that being sellable, obviously you have the opportunity to sell. So how do I take my business and how do I build something that can actually sell? Now, we had a quick little laugh about it earlier, but if I said to Rhoda, $3 million for your business, would you take it, would you not take it? I mean, $3 million is a lot of money, right? But do we know is your company worth $3 million, right?
Exactly.
If we have to ask the question, do we know what the value is? If you don't know that value, you don't actually know if you're winning or losing, and also you can't justify how that value's been put together. So by building something to find that value, you then obviously have the opportunity to sell it. You can go to market and say, come buy shares, come buy the company, and give me the money and I'll walk away.
Walk away.
Return my investment. So bring about a state of where I put the effort and time and the money in, I can now get a return for that effort I put in previously.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The other thing we can then do is obviously look at scaling. So when the company is sellable, it means that I've removed myself as a business owner by choice to not be involved actively. So I've got a team, I've got a structure, I've got functions that are running independently from me, and I can pretty much take that and multiply that across the business. Yes, there are complexities to that. Yes, there are bigger management teams and systems and processes to develop. But if I've got a working aspect like a working financial department or a working delivery team, and they have process and they have structures in place, we can scale
This is
rapidly.
so much easier.
Yeah.
One thing that most business owners tend to do, and I know that a lot of us as Africans want to build a legacy. So building a legacy doesn't mean we need to sell the company, but we may want to pass it down to our kids. We want our kids to take over the company. We want them to start running the business. So if it's sellable and the business isn't relying on me again as the owner to run it, I can hand it over to the next generation or to the next management team and say, you guys take it forward, you guys run it, and you guys make it work because everything's in place for you to work through. And then the position I want to be in one day is I just want to sit back and dictate and demand things. So I want to be the chairman of the board, I want to build strategy, and I want everyone else to run the company the way it should be. So I can choose the levels I want to play at. Do I want to be an employee? Do I want to be a chairman? Do I want to be a shareholder and just earn dividends? I have a choice now where I want to go, and without that choice, there's obviously no freedom in it.
And that is what the freedom entails. It means you can sell it outright, you can pass it down, you can put your feet up as the slide is doing and just be somebody who collects dividends.
Exactly.
It's just having the options available.
Exactly.
And where a lot of business owners goes wrong is the fact that they actually don't even consider that, don't even think of that when they actually start a business. So they just jump into, I'm going to be selling this pens or I'm going to be doing something. And then along the way they find themselves, but I'm having to do everything now. And then they get emotional about it, they get stuck in it, and they become the machine, they become the engine room in actual fact. So this is something I myself had to actually come to the realization that I wonder, would I either want to do one of those, So you need to I think we spoke earlier about it as well, a marriage contract. Before you even get married, basically, you need to sit down and say exactly what you're coming into this and what is your end goal at the end of the day. So,
And in terms of, should you separate? Okay, you take the dog, I take the cat, that kind of thing.
So you're a cat person.
Well,
So look, I think to Gerardo's point, what we have to do when we start a company is think, what's my exit plan? What does my exit look like in the business? So if I'm going to look to exit, it means I've got to either sell the company, I've got to let the company shut down. And I think for most of us, the thought of shutting down companies down is something we would never want to actually do, right?
exactly.
So I think that thinking about that exit, thinking about what I want out of my business, thinking about where I see myself going, the question about value, what is that number that gets put on the table that I will walk away for? It's probably the best example to use of where do I want to go. Is my company worth 100 million? Is it worth $1 billion?
Yeah.
Is it worth
So true.
100,000? What is that number where I'm willing to go? Enough, I'm out.
yeah.
Take my company.
You can yeah. Do you know what? And I actually want to put this out there for business owners. I want to actually put this out there. Are you in that position? Is that a conscientious decision that you've taken? We've got a comment up there from Hubert. Morning, Hubert. Trust you well. It says it's a common misconception that money is every entrepreneur's metric of success. It's not. and nor should it be. And
Look, I can tend to agree with that. And I think Rhoda and I can both agree as entrepreneurs and business owners, my biggest driver isn't financial. Obviously, financials are important. So obviously, I want money in my accounts. I can do things. But I want the luxury of choosing to go away for a long weekend without having to report to somebody or ask permission for it.
And that is what he's alluding to there.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want to have the opportunity to go out and have a surf. Not that I surf, but go out and have a surf or go.
You can take my cat.
Go and CrossFits at 3 o'clock in the afternoon just because I've got time available.
Exactly.
And I think that's the benefit of being a business owner. Yes, there's a lot of hardships, and yes, we've got to work really hard and look after staff, and we've got to take all the risk. I mean, there was a downstill saying, a business owner or entrepreneurs and business owners wake up excited and terrified every morning. Right? It's this constant game of what's next, is it going to happen, what am I going to do about it? But for that reward, for that little bit of freedom to choose, that's the joyous part of it.
So true.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's quite. I mean, it's not a. It's quite. And I can see just thinking to what you said earlier, how easy you could be trapped.
Massively.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's by default almost the natural position.
And I think the problem here during the COVID days, there were a few industries that did very well. So the IT markets, the marketing companies, where the budgets were kept in place to make sure that the business could still run. But for most businesses, there was a very clear step back towards survival. Revenues were cut. There were a lot of new businesses starting because people were retrenched or they were laid off, and their only means of getting an income was to start their own company. Now, that position that you're in there is obviously not one of I don't say not strength, but you obviously have been forced to something you weren't able to do. And at that point, you're not chasing the revenue, you're chasing the task, you're chasing the next sale, and you're not sitting back and going, where's the exit? What's the big next step for me?
Yeah. And for me, it's almost like, what's the bigger picture?
Exactly.
Because, you can jump into this because now you're finding yourself pressure, especially with COVID and a lot of people starting their own businesses, but they didn't have business sense as such because you've been employed, being employed and actually starting your own business is two totally different concepts. Your brain just has to do that switch. So for me, it is really a case of, you know what, if you're wanting this, you need to listen to talks like this, go to Optigrowth, go to the website, find out more. And you know what? Set yourself a foundation. Don't just jump into something. And I know of a friend of ours that basically also started something, and she found herself at the end of the day, she couldn't go on holiday because who's going to look after her stock? Because she had livestock. So who's going to look after my? I can't go on holiday. So, but she jumped into thinking, oh, I'm going to make lots of money, but not realizing that you still need to have a bit of a life. You know, you got kids. You need to do things. You can't just be with your stock the whole time.
Do you know what? I mean, those are brilliant observations, I must say to both of you. It is, and especially what you now said as well, Damion, that in the COVID time, a lot of small businesses were almost like force-started. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Because a lot of people were just doing things, because you had no choice.
And so the problem with that is, or the one thing that we picked up about that is that you go back to the state of, I was a lifestyle business, everything was hunky-dory, I was moving nicely, I had a bit of freedom, I'm now back in survival, and all the big plans you had have now diminished, they've disappeared like fog in the sun. And you haven't had this opportunity now to sit back again and go, okay, what's the next big thing? And that's when this trapped feeling, like I can't move, I can't do something, I can't get anywhere, comes about.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody. It's exciting. If you got the question, see, we got the expert. He's going to tell us how to do it. Morning to Jabbar as well. Thanks for watching, and everybody watching this morning. If you got some comments and interesting observations, please share them. We all learn from each other. I mean, I know, you know what I know. So what do we do, Damion?
So, I mean, that's probably the hardest question to answer is what is the next step to building a freedom type business or a business where you are free? Is that you've got to go and implement the structures in place to allow yourself to be free. Now, what we've developed from an Optigrowth perspective is we call it the hierarchy of business needs. And we've defined effectively the critical elements that need to be put together to try and build a company that can give you the ultimate freedom. And we ran through this a little bit in our previous discussion about our freedom assessments, but effectively it comes down to, am I able to generate revenue? So can my business go about its day-to-day operations while generating money? There's a very nice phrase, if you don't sell, you die. So we have to be able to constantly bring money in, and preferably bring it in a predictable sequence. So find something that's recurring, find something that I can literally sign a contract today and have that predictable revenue coming through. I mean, with that, then comes things like making sure your value proposition is right, understanding your markets, and ideally finding someone to do that for you, as in find someone to go out and sell for you, find someone to help you with your marketing. So you can sit back and know that at least there's an effort going away or happening outside of what you are actually busy doing, and money's coming in without you working on it. I think to this point, I just want to make a comment about, there's always this perception of, why must someone else do what I can do? Like, how do I, you mentioned about paying somebody or employing somebody to look after livestock. If I'm not looking after livestock, there's something else I could be doing. So there's a nice thing called opportunity cost. The cost of missing out on something else because I'm doing something right now. So Damien's sitting here today at, what's time now, 20:10, and presenting it on MahalaMonday. There's something else I could be doing. Now, is that opportunity that I'm missing out on more costly than sitting here? Now, if I'm the one selling, if I'm the one doing financials, if I'm the one doing all this, am I actually growing the business? Am I the one going out and building and enhancing my products? Or am I the one doing the work?
Exactly.
And when you start delegating tasks down and start letting people do the work for you, you have the opportunity to actually focus on other things, making my business better, defining the next big strategy. And if we don't think about it that way, we get focused on this, or we get stuck in this thing again of, I have to do everything. If I don't do it, I won't get done properly.
But let me ask you this, because, and it might sound like a foolish question, but a lot of, if I've got a business and I believe whatever I do, service or product, there's nobody who can do it this way. Is it my ego that is then almost holding me down in a way?
It's a good question. I don't think it's your ego. I think it's a case of we think it has to be done perfectly. And I think that we get caught in the detail of being perfect. You know, if you can deliver a service that is 95% as good as what you want it to be, it's still going to be valuable to your customer. As long as I'm adding the value to my customer, it doesn't have to always be perfect. We all make mistakes. We all do things wrong. I remember Dougal's a very good presenter and can speak very well. Damion not so much, but I bring a different element that you might not have. And if I can leverage off other people's talents and skills to enhance my product or bring about more to my products, then why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
If you, this very nice example I try and use every once in a while is, if I'm going to earn 100 Rand from every sale, right? And every 100 Rand I've got to work for really hard to get that sale. But if I appoint somebody and pay them 80 Rand to get that sale for me, for the 100 Rand, I make 20 Rand for doing nothing. And I think that's this whole misconception of I'm going to do everything is I can literally make money out of a transaction by not doing any of the work for it. And if we start realizing that, the scaling part of it, the selling part of it becomes far more clear as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And do go on that. I think the biggest fear, and you find it in the corporates as well, I don't want to share my information with you because I'm so scared that you're going to be better than me. But being in business, you actually have to get to the realization in order for you to make more money, you actually need to start delegating. You need to give off a bit of what you're doing. And this is something I found a bit difficult at the beginning because of the fact being a very independent person and being in control. You know, it was difficult. So having to let go of that, because now I'm finding I've got somebody that's doing the bookkeeping, the till basically. I've got somebody else that's doing the phone calls. You know, so you're not doing everything, and it actually at the end of the day you can focus more on actually making the business more profitable instead of and concentrating on where's my books at, read my financials, do my cash flow, spending more time on the back end and actually just doing everything because the business is still, you know, and this is where that freedom also but comes in, you know.
And being like a real business owner instead of worrying about the, not that I'm saying it's a small task, but the minimum.
Oh, look, there are things that are day-to-day tasks that most people can, that a lot of people can do, and have the skill set to do. Bookkeeping, as a nice example, is there's a way of doing bookkeeping and there's a way of not doing bookkeeping. As long as you appoint somebody to do bookkeeping, why must you focus on that? Why must I be the experts? I think it was Richard Branson who made I'm going to get the quote completely wrong now, but I think he said something about he only hires people who are better than him. He doesn't want to be the best in the room. He doesn't want to be the smartest guy in the room. He wants to get guys who are experts in what they do, share information with them, give them what he can do, and then he wants to decide where to go. And I think the misconception that, and I think what Rhoda was also referring to is, we've got this opinion that we've got to be the best. You know, if I'm in my company, I've got to be the best presenter, I've got to be the best business coach. Why can't I appoint a better business coach? Why can't I use that skill set and that talent and that resource to make my product, my company better?
So true.
So sorry, back to the back to
sorry.
got a little bit off cue there. So back to the structure. So once we have revenue, we've got to then understand that revenue has to be managed somehow. There's a cost to doing business that we have to put value to, we have to transact with as well, and that's where your financial management comes in. If you don't have good financials, if you don't have clarity about what you're selling and when you're selling it and how you're selling it, you tend to get lost in the day-to-day reins again. So I've got to make sure that my business model actually works, I'm making profits, I've got to make sure I've got cash in the bank, and I've got to make sure that I'm also forecasting and putting down targets of where to move and where to improve on. The next step looks at process efficiency and maturity. This is effectively the recipe of how your business works. So if you think about a good cook or a good baker, they've got a recipe for a cake. If that recipe is followed to the T every single time, that cake comes out the same way every single time. And that's where your processes come in and where your guidelines and your policies come about, because we have to make sure that if I start growing, there's got to be a how-to guide of what I do. And again, that's where you as a business owner start throwing in some of your secret ingredients into that recipe and start making sure that the business runs the way you want it to. The final part is you have to start delegating and putting people in place to run the company. So I've got to make sure that I've defined the structure of the business with its functions, with its people, and let them go out and do the work, making sure that the first 3 levels are also looked after. Because if all of those levels work, if they're all defined, if they're all put in place, and it's a very clear understanding of what needs to be done, there's no reason why you can't hand it over. There's no reason why you can't have the freedom then. And it's all about making sure that those aspects are built to such an extent that we can literally put a piece of paper on the table and go, do this job.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's again, it's a very broad discussion point, and there's a lot of detail and intricacies to making yourself sellable and making your business sellable. But I think the biggest thing about the discussion today is about understanding that being sellable doesn't mean you have to sell.
Yeah.
Being sellable is that ultimate goal of being free. I want to make sure that, and our passion for as Optigrowth is to try and give business owners as much freedom as they can have. To take them away from that day-to-day working in their businesses, just making the daily grind work, and showing them that there's an asset they can build, there's a value they can start creating, there's additional income they can earn, or additional, like your house, an asset you can put in your financial portfolio, and actually have money sitting there waiting for you when you retire, or when you want to hand it over, or give it to your kids, or whatever else maybe.
You know what? I'm thinking now of all of this, and I'm thinking of, and not to throw anybody under the bus, but it is that time of the day.
It is a Monday.
Yeah. And I'm thinking of this, that, there's a lot of businesses in South Africa today, and it could be global, considering what you said earlier with what COVID has brought about, or the pandemic, the layout of that, how society is structured today, that all of the stuff we're talking about now, I'm thinking like, no business owner knows this. I mean, this is not, there is so many, and yet we encourage, our narrative is to encourage small business and entrepreneurship. This is our narrative. But at the end of the day, the success stories we hear, like what Bill Gates did with, or Mark Zuckerberg, who sold Facebook to whoever, or sold this to that, to the guy who invented something, sold it that, made a quadrillion rand, and all of that. We don't think of that. We hear these stories, but those stories are always in isolation. But it doesn't have to be those amounts.
Look, you also don't get the context behind that. So you hear the story, it sounds fantastic, but the context about how it works and what they had to go through to get there, there's always a thing, an overnight success is never done overnight.
Yeah.
It takes time, it takes effort, it takes failure.
Exactly.
And I think a lot of business owners coming into their new businesses and building their companies are expecting that quick win, that quick result, that quick offer on the table.
Exactly.
It takes time. And like I said, I think it's all this information that we have and all the information we share, you can find anywhere you want to. Right? You can find it on Google, you can find it on Facebook and LinkedIn, all those things. The question is, do you understand how to put it all together? Do you understand how to make it work in your individual business? There's nothing new. I mean, you can study this, you can do your MBAs, you can do all that stuff. You can still find the information. Can you put it together in a space that actually drives towards the goal that you want? And do you have the team around you to make it work for you? Remember, and as terrible as it sounds, the business is there to support the business owner. It's not there to support the staff. It's not there to make the staff richer. It's there to make the business owner richer. And it's a very hard, and I know that I'm probably going to get criticized for this, right? Because it's not a nice thing to say. But a good business looks after their staff. A good business will make sure their staff feel supported and valued and are growing in their own financial sense, in their own careers and their own paths. But the business is still there for one purpose alone: make the business owner rich or wealthy or whatever their business wants. And I think we miss out that point sometimes about how do I put it together to get that result for me.
Yeah, but you're absolutely right, and you won't get criticized for it because it works the same way in the corporate. The stakeholders, they want bigger shares, they want bigger dividends the following year. It is exactly how it works. This is what it is about. You constantly, if you got 6 now, I want 7 next time.
Exactly.
Why would I want 2?
Exactly. I mean, I'm putting the effort in. Why can't I get the reward for it?
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
I think it's also that case of there was a very, I'm talking a little bit off point here, but there was a very nice case where there was a CEO, I think, got quite a big bonus, and there was a huge outcry about the fact that the CEO earned a massive bonus and then the stock of bonuses. And I think it's because what we tend to forget is we see this business owner as just a business owner. We don't see him as the risk taker, as the person responsible and accountable for making decisions. I do my job as an employee. If I don't do well in this presentation, I just go home and I sleep it off and I come back the next day. Right? As a business owner, I've got to take the responsibility for what I'm doing now. I've got to make sure that the business is growing, and if I make a bad call, it could affect my business in a week's time or a year's time. That risk and that reward for that risk needs to be equivalent. I think that's where big CEOs, big corporates, big shareholders, they're taking a huge risk and a huge gamble for what they do every day. And where does the reward come from?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure. Rhoda, as a business owner, is this the kind of thing that keeps you up at night?
Most definitely. It really comes down to the fact that there's actually people that's working that you need to make sure they got food on their table. They need to pay their school fees. They need to actually pay their bonds. So you're not just worried about your own bond. You're not worried about your own life. You're actually worried about the other 10 or 20 that's out there that actually also need to make a living. So you go to bed and you're like, okay, I need to make 100% sure. I need to make sure I tell Novelo to phone this client to get the monies in, because this is what I need to pay the salaries.
Sorry, I was going to say, we were joking earlier, today's payday, right? Today's 25th of July. Our staff want their salaries today. Right?
Exactly.
As a business owner, it's our job to make sure the money's in the bank for it, the cash flow's ready for it. If the cash isn't there, where are we going to find the money? I'm going to take my hard-earned income and wealth and push it into the company and to make sure there's cash available. I'm going to go to the bank to get a loan, and they're going to say, okay, you want a loan? I'll give you a loan, but Damion, your house is on the market now. Your house is going to be the surety I have that you'll repay that loan.
Exactly.
Now, that's all things business owners go to make sure that they have this structure available that can provide them.
Look, it's then again, if you're a freelancer, you know what it's like. It's a whole thing. Hubert says a jack of all trades is a master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. If you're playing the accountant who's doing your job of selling or marketing your business, and that's it there.
Yeah.
I mean, that is it there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've gotta do this. You gotta have the end goal. What you guys said earlier was, if you had to get married, man, there's some sort of prenup or.
As far as I know, look, again, I'm not being married. I know there's a counselling session first. There's a meeting of the minds first. There's then the.
And you got to meet the parents.
Meet the parents and all those things. To understand, is this all worth the journey?
Yeah. and it is, but this is what it is, because that is the commitment. If you're committing to starting a business, you almost got to start at the end station.
Yeah.
And work your way back and see, what will I do when I get there? What ultimately, and these are honest questions you've got to ask ourselves. Now, when we started off, you said you are a business confidant. This is what you guys do, and this is what you spend, because I didn't understand any of this. This is all Greek to me. Now look at me now. So how do people get in touch? I mean, how do you?
So look, we've got a website up and going. We've got the freedom assessment on our website. So you can do your freedom assessments. Your details will be logged in there. And you can get hold of us. hello@optigrowth.co.za is our go-to email address. So everyone, any questions, any comments, any little bit of advice, you can get hold of us on either hello@optigrowth or the website.
Yeah. Before I ask you to wrap up, I want to ask you this as well, because we got the details on the screen. So my business is different from Rhoda's business.
Yes.
This is not a one-size-fits-all. You come in, we talk, we consult, whatever it is we do, have a cup of coffee or something. And your suggestions and what will be tailor-made to me.
Exactly.
So it's a very good question, because it's something that every business owner thinks. My business is unique. My business is different. And yes, they are. But however, there are fundamentals to to being a business and running a business that are the same. Right? The question will be is your business at a state of maturity that needs the full package, or does it need parts of the package? So am I driving a BMW M4, and I need all the bells and whistles? Am I driving a Toyota that only needs a few of the bells and whistles, right? And we structure the content and the knowledge share to that part to be suited for your business. We firmly believe in a lot of knowledge share. So we do give a lot of information across. We share templates, we share wisdom that we've had from our experiences, and we then test that understanding in your company. So are your financials up and running? If they're not, let's fix your financials first. Do we need to have a full set of financials with all the detail to it? Look, in the beginning, we obviously want that, but it's impossible to get it done right now. So let's structure it, let's put it in place, and let's start building towards that state of true top-tier maturity. So we do very similar work, right? But we have to customize that information to each business and its relevance for them as well.
And just vouching for that as well, for the fact that, we had our business running for some time. We're now 20 years old, but there was a lot of foundational information that we didn't have in place. So just bringing Optigrowth into our realm and telling us exactly, look, you guys, let's just sit, because like you said, you can go on the Google, you can go get all this information, but I'm telling you the difference on actually somebody telling you in your face, you're doing this wrong. It is really something. It's an awakening for me. It was an awakening for me as a business owner as well, because you're kind of just running around. Like you said, you're running. You're not realizing that you actually need somebody to just like punch you on the shoulder and say, whoa, stop right there. Let's look at what you're doing. I can tell you today, Dougal, for the first time after 20 years, that, you know what, just getting the information from Optigrowth, my business is on a much better footing on me knowing exactly what's happening in my financials, what's happening every day in my business. It makes such a big difference, because I got knocked on the shoulder to tell me exactly, hello, Let's see.
20 years,
And
eh?
I think
20
to your
Rhoda's
question,
business and my age is the same.
so I think just to get back to your point about confidence, I think that's our little extra bit we do. We don't want to be the consultant. I don't want to tell Rhoda how wrong she is. I don't want to tell her that she must do this to get it right.
Exactly.
I don't want to just be the advisor she can call to ask for a bit of advice on. I want to sit next to her and treat her business like it's mine.
Exactly.
I want to show the trust that she can have in me to say, Damion, I actually don't know what's going on here. Like he's just, I act like I do, but I actually don't. And like, she can take me into her confidence and she can say to me, look, where do we go from now? And I think that's the most powerful sort of space to be in when you've got a person you can trust to talk to share things with you. And that's effectively what we want to get, what my customers feel. We want a long-term relationship. We want to be there for 5-6 years. And yes, we might not do all the work we do now in the beginning, but at some point there's going to be a board discussion, and I will sit in your board. I want to help build your business more. Those are the relationships we want to start building for our customers.
I was actually going to ask you this. You didn't have to answer because I was going to ask you, since business owners and entrepreneurs, they're terrified and excited that you get calls in the middle of the night, but you don't have to answer that. But there you have it. Thank you, Damion Stander, for coming on, and we wish you and everybody well at Optigrowth for sharing this amazing information as well. But this is in a nutshell. This is what it's about. If you're a business owner, you're an entrepreneur, you're doing your thing, and kudos to you, and long may the success continue. But what is the end goal? Can you have the ultimate freedom? Do you have the option to sell, to pass it down, just to chill and enjoy all the spoils and build a legacy? So all the things you want to do, well, there's a way to do it, and a proven way to do it. And of course, people who can assist you, Optigrowth. So you certainly got to go check it out, and they've got all those details for you. That is it from us. Any final thoughts?
Think big. Action it, take it, go get it. Easy.
And there you have it. Rhoda, anything from your side?
All I can say is go to the website, go have a look at the freedom assessment, and actually just go and do that and find out exactly where you're finding yourself right now as a business owner.
Yeah, no, that's certainly what you got to do. So a short moment ago, you would have seen a slide there from making every day a Mandela Day. Remember, of course, just a couple of days ago, we had International Nelson Mandela Day, and I know people have been doing their thing all over the world, trying to improve their community and society around them with 67 minutes. But as we always say, make every day a Mandela Day. From all of us and our guest Damion here today on Mahala Monday, thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. It certainly was very informative. Make sure you like it and share it with all those business owners who definitely will need it. In fact, I will share it somewhere with everybody. Anyway, until next time, cheers everybody. Thanks for watching.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.